Well, first I want to thank you so much, the Nihonmachi Outreach Committee, for inviting me also to be a part of today's commemoration. And I really wanted to say I so appreciate Reverend Hanaoka and Reverend Tanamori and James Cordes and Rimban Sakamoto, all of their words and testimonies today. Reverend Tanamori mentioned John 3:16, and behind me is Kakijiku. I think that's what it's called. It's a Japanese scroll, and it has John 3:16 written by the famous Japanese Christian Toyohiko Kagawa, who was a very much a social justice advocate and reformer in Japan. And so I just wanted to mention that. But I wanted to say that through the years, I have been so grateful that my wife, Vicky, and I have had the opportunity to visit the Peace Memorial Park in Hiroshima like 3 times now. And the 2 most recent of our trips involved taking our high school youth from our church on a social justice and cultural immersion experience of Japan. And I have to tell you that the emotional impact on our youth when we took them to the Peace Park Museum and took our 1,000 cranes to the Sadako Memorial has been something that has truly shaped their awareness and elevated their sensibilities and conviction that this should never again happen anywhere. What has added to, I think, to the meaningfulness of my 3 visits to Hiroshima's Peace Park has been that in every visit that I have gone there, it poured rain. And I'm not just talking about a little bit of rain, but drenching rain. It was as if the tears of more than 200,000 lives was pouring down on us to help us to remember the depth of sorrow and tragedy of what once occurred there. And it just seemed to hallow our visit even the more. If I get to go back to Japan, again, it is the hope of my wife and I to visit the museum in Nagasaki and to pay our respects to those killed there so long ago. We here at Wesley United Methodist Church, we have a dear church member whose name is Rose Yoshida, who is a Hiroshima Hibakusha. Today she is 101 years old. Next month she turns 102. And though she was born here in the US, after graduating from high school in Florin, California, at the age of 18 or 19, she moved to Japan to live with her aunt in Hiroshima. She was 27 years old when the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. I had once the occasion to talk with her at length about her life, and I felt so privileged that she would share her experience of being in Hiroshima at the time of the atomic bombing. She recalled all of those nightmarish images of the dead and those who survived who were as the walking dead. These were images that continued to haunt her even to this day. And so I was so amazed and thankful that she survived this tragedy of war. I had always hoped that she might share her personal story with others in the church and in the community. But her response to me when I asked her, she just simply sighed, and almost with tears out of her eyes, she said, "I can't, it's too painful." And I really felt that emotion from Reverend Tanamori and Reverend Hanaoka today, that same kind of painful remembrance. So in light of how deeply painful that experience was for other survivors like our Rose Yoshida, and I'm so grateful for Reverend Hanaoka and Reverend Tanamori, who have given testimony to their experiences today, that we might all learn and be inspired to speak out against this destructive power in the world. So that said, let me do what I was asked to close in prayer. So would you all please join with me in prayer? Oh God, you whose very character is love, you whose truth and ways are known by many faith traditions through many cultures, we thank you for our remembrance this week and this night. Though 75 years ago, 75 years have passed since the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we still remember the hundreds of thousands of lives that died in an instant, and those who died over agonizing months and years, and those who survived yet still live with the physical and emotional trauma of this dreadful act of destruction. We ask that you instill in us the continued passion to advocate peace and justice, continue to inspire in us a desire for a nuclear-free world. Turn the hearts and minds of our most powerful nations, including ours, to join with the overwhelming majority of other nations that work toward this hope. We lift up our gratitude to Reverend Nobuaki Hanaoka and Reverend Takashi Tanemori, survivors of these bombings whose continued life testimonies elevates our own understanding, inspires us all to work for peace. The fact that their experiences of this horrific act has been formative in their spiritual journey and called them to ministry and to work for peace and justice. That is such a great testimony of how you bring light out of darkness, a blade of grass emerging in a city desolated by the horrors of war. Thank you for their and others' tireless work for peace and hope. We thank you for Jason Cordes, who has created this wonderful montage of Reverend Tanemori's life and experience and his thoughts. And we thank you for the Nihonmachi Outreach Committee for planning this commemoration this day that has added so much to this past week's many remembrances that were shared with the public to increase others' awarenesses of these horrific events. Bless us, O God, and lead us to be voices of peace and justice in our time and for future generations to come. May we set our hearts and minds to the good work of promoting the de-escalation of nuclear weapons in our world. Bless us and our remembrances this day. Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Inouye. I'd like to thank everyone as well for attending our Hiroshima and Nagasaki memorial event. Although it's been many years since the bombing, the themes of genocide still haunt us today. It's important to keep these events in mind as we move through our lives and take action to keep these types of atrocities out of our future history books. In alignment with our program today, we would like to encourage all of you to take action by going to the NOC website and signing the petition for the Union of Concerned Scientists. This group is urging the United Nations organization to join the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons and achieve total elimination of nuclear weapons. You can find the petition on the NOC website, which I'll put into the chat right now. And it's a really easy way to just kind of click and then link. And your support definitely means a lot. Thank you again for joining us today. I would like to just show a slide to acknowledge all of the people who made today's program possible. Thank you.